So many people today are chasing after an image, trying to build a life on appearances, on what they wear, how they look, or what others think about them. They are exhausted because they are running after something that never satisfies. But hear me, true power, true radiance, true energy does not come from outward appearance. It comes from identity, it comes from knowing who you are and whose you are. A woman who knows her identity does not have to dress a certain way to be powerful. She does not have to seek validation in the eyes of others. She does not have to pretend to be someone she is not. She carries energy because deep inside she has discovered her worth. When you know your worth, you cannot be shaken. When you know your worth, you cannot be easily broken. When you know your worth, you walk into the world with a strength that no criticism, no rejection, no wound can steal. The world will always try to define you. It will try to put labels on you, labels of failure, labels of not enough, labels of too much. But a queen is not defined by the world's labels. A queen is not defined by her scars, by her past, or by her circumstances. A queen is defined by her identity, and identity does not come from opinion. It comes from truth. That is why the energy of a queen is unshakable. It does not shift when people praise her, nor does it crumble when people criticize her. Think about the way a tree stands firm. The strength of the tree is not in its leaves, not in the beauty of its branches, but in its roots. The deeper the roots, the stronger the tree, and so it is with a woman. Her beauty, her clothing, her voice, her achievements, those are like leaves. They can change with the seasons, but her identity is the root, and when that root is planted deep, storms may come, winds may blow, but she will still stand. That is why you cannot measure your power by what is seen. You cannot measure your energy by what others applaud. Energy is not in the crown you wear on your head. It is in the crown you carry in your soul. And when you embrace that, you walk differently. You hold your head higher. You look people in the eye with dignity, not arrogance. You do not beg for love. You do not chase after approval because you are anchored in the truth of who you are. I have seen women who the world would call ordinary women without riches, women without fame, women without position, and yet when they walk into a room, everything changes. Why? Because they know who they are. They carry themselves with the calm assurance of dignity. Their very presence speaks louder than their words. That is the mark of true power. That is the energy of a queen. And I have also seen women who the world calls glamorous, admired, envied, yet inside they are restless, insecure, and searching. They dress like queens, but they do not feel like queens. They are trying to cover emptiness with outward beauty, but it never satisfies. Because no crown on the outside can replace the crown you must carry on the inside. My friend, this is the truth you must grasp. Identity is not given to you by the world. It is not taken away by your failures. It is not diminished by your mistakes. It is already within you. You were created with it. And when you step into that truth, when you embrace that crown, your whole life changes. Energy flows from identity. It flows from the assurance that you are valuable, that you are chosen, that you are here for a reason. And when that realization takes hold of your heart, you can stand in front of anyone, you can face any circumstance and still carry yourself with unshakable confidence. Not arrogance, confidence, not pride, dignity, and that energy cannot be bought, it cannot be faked, it cannot be stolen. So let me ask you, what defines you today? Is it the opinion of others? Is it the reflection in the mirror? Is it the memory of your past, or is it the truth of who you are? If you are living from appearances, your energy will always rise and fall with the tide. But if you are living from identity, your energy will shine steady, unmovable, unbreakable. A queen knows this. She may walk through fire, but she comes out shining brighter. She may walk through valleys, but she does not forget her crown. She may hear the voices of doubt, but she listens to the voice of truth, and because of that, her energy changes the world around her. This is why I tell you, your energy is not in what you wear, not in what you own, not in how many people applaud you. Your energy is in your identity, and when you know who you are, when you live from that place, you do not just survive, you transform. You do not just exist, you lead, you do not just live. You shine, so rise today into your true identity. Do not let the world steal your crown. Do not let the lies define you. Do not let your past imprison you. Stand tall, walk strong, and carry the energy that comes from knowing you are already a queen. When a queen enters a room, something shifts. It isn't always seen with the eye, but it is always felt with the heart. Her presence carries a weight that changes the atmosphere around her. People speak differently, tension begins to ease, hope stirs in places where there was despair. That is the energy of a queen. She does not need to announce herself, for her spirit speaks louder than her voice. She does not need to demand attention, because her presence draws it naturally. Queen sets the tone wherever she goes. Walk into a home where a queen's energy is alive, and you will feel peace instead of chaos. You will sense love in the very air. She may not have spoken a word, but her presence changes everything. Walk into a workplace where a queen stands strong, and you will notice respect begin to rise. People think differently when she is there. They choose their words more carefully. They straighten their backs. Why? Because a queen commands dignity, and that dignity lifts the standard for everyone else. It is not manipulation. It is not force. It is alignment. Her energy aligns others with a higher way of living. The careless become more thoughtful. The anxious feel calmer. The weary feel lighter. There is a quiet power that moves when a queen carries herself with grace and courage. It is not what she does alone, it is who she is. Think about the light of a candle. A candle does not argue with the darkness, it does not fight to be seen. It simply shines, and by shining it changes the atmosphere around it. A queen's energy works the same way. She does not have to debate, she does not have to prove herself, she simply shines, and darkness cannot remain the same. Her presence brings warmth where there was coldness, clarity where there was confusion, and confidence where there was fear. But this kind of presence does not come from pretending, it does not come from performing, it comes from being grounded. It comes from knowing that her worth does not rise or fall with circumstances. That is why a queen can walk into the same storm as everyone else and yet bring calm where others bring panic. She has learned that her energy sets the tone, and so she chooses carefully how she carries herself. Have you ever noticed how one person's mood can affect an entire group? When someone is bitter, angry, or restless, it spreads like wildfire. But when someone is steady, kind, and strong, that too spreads. A queen understands this. She does not let the world dictate her energy. Instead, she dictates the atmosphere around her. Her presence is not reactive, it is proactive. She sets the tone of her home, her relationships, her workplace, not by shouting commands, but by embodying peace, dignity, and courage. And here is the wonder of it all. The influence of her energy often reaches further than she will ever know. A child growing up under the covering of her presence will carry stability into their own life. A friend walking through her encouragement will find strength to endure another day. A colleague standing in her shadow will remember her composure long after she leaves the room. She may never see the full impact, but her presence ripples outward like waves on water. That is why the energy of a queen must be guarded. The world is full of distractions, full of negativity, full of voices trying to drag you down into fear and anger. But a queen knows she cannot let her energy be stolen. She guards her heart so that when she walks into a place of confusion, she brings clarity. When she steps into a place of bitterness, she brings forgiveness. When she enters a place of despair, she carries hope. Her energy is not neutral. It is transformative, and do not misunderstand, this is not about perfection. A queen does not always feel strong, she does not always feel fearless. But she knows that her presence carries weight, and so she chooses faith over fear, grace over resentment, and calm over chaos. She rises above the moment to set the standard for the moment, and in doing so, she shifts the atmosphere not only for herself, but for everyone connected to her. This is why a queen's energy changes everything. It changes the way people think, it changes the way people speak, it changes the way people treat one another. It changes despair into hope and fear into faith. And you too can carry that energy. You may feel small, overlooked, or unworthy, but the moment you recognize the influence of your presence, you begin to live with intention. You begin to walk as though every step matters, every word counts, every look carries meaning, because it does. The world does not need louder voices. The world needs steadier presences. The world needs queens who can walk into the room and lift it simply by being there. You have that power. Do not waste it on negativity. Do not surrender it to bitterness. Do not let the noise of the world drain it away. Use it to raise the standard, to bring life, to inspire, to heal, to strengthen, for when a queen knows that her presence sets the tone, she becomes unstoppable. She knows that her silence can bring peace, her smile can bring healing, her strength can bring courage. And when she walks into a room with the authority of that energy, everything changes. There is a kind of power that does not tear down but builds up. There is an energy that does not dominate but heals. And when a queen rises into her true self, when she understands her role and her calling, she does not use her strength to crush, she uses it to restore. Her very energy becomes medicine for the weary, light for the lost, hope for the broken. She is not content to simply carry her crown, she chooses to use it for the good of others. That is why her presence lifts, heals, and transforms everything it touches. You see, there are people all around us who are walking through invisible battles. They may smile, but behind the smile there is pain. They may look strong, but underneath there is fear. They may seem confident, but in their hearts they feel lost. A queen's energy reaches into those hidden places. She doesn't always have the perfect words to say, but she doesn't need them. Her compassion speaks louder than words. Her calm presence brings comfort that no lecture could bring. Think of the way water flows over dry ground. It doesn't shout, it doesn't demand attention, yet everywhere it touches becomes alive again. That is the energy of a queen. Where there is dryness, she brings refreshment. Where there is barrenness, she brings new life. Where there is despair, she brings hope. And the beautiful thing is, she may not even realize the full impact she is making. A gentle word, a patient smile, a listening ear, small things in her eyes, yet they become turning points in the lives of others. But make no mistake, this healing energy is not weakness. Some think compassion is fragile, that kindness is soft. But in truth, kindness is strength under control, compassion is courage in action, love is the most unshakable force in the world. And when a queen chooses to live by love rather than bitterness, when she chooses to walk in forgiveness instead of resentment, she wields a power far greater than anger could ever achieve. Many women carry wounds from the past betrayal, disappointment, rejection. The temptation is to let those wounds turn into hardness, to build walls, to shut down the heart. But a queen chooses differently. She knows that bitterness poisons her energy, while forgiveness frees it. She chooses to turn her pain into purpose. She takes what hurt her and uses it to help others heal. She understands that the very thing that once tried to break her can now be the bridge she uses to lift others. That is transformation. That is redemption. That is the mark of a queen. And look at how this plays out in generations. A queen's children grow under the shade of her energy. They may not remember every lesson she speaks, but they will never forget the warmth of her presence. They may not repeat her words, but they will carry her spirit. Her love and stability become the soil in which their lives grow. And when they step out into the world, they carry a piece of her energy with them. In this way, her healing presence does not stop with her. It flows into the future. Even beyond family, her influence stretches. Friends find in her a confidant they can trust. Strangers walk away from her, encouraged without even knowing why. Her co-workers feel lighter in her presence, as though some invisible weight has been lifted. She doesn't always know who is watching, but they are watching. She doesn't always know who is listening, but they are listening. And her choice to live as a source of healing touches far more lives than she can ever count. This is why a queen must guard the atmosphere she carries. The world is quick to wound, quick to divide, quick to tear down. If she allows bitterness to take root, if she lets fear drive her, then her energy can shift from healing to harming. But when she stands firm in truth, when she chooses to live with grace, then no matter how dark the environment, she becomes a light. And a single light in the darkness is never small. You may think your influence is limited. You may believe your life is too small to matter. But the truth is, every act of love you give, every word of encouragement you speak, every choice you make to forgive instead of hate ripples outward. You will never know the full reach of your healing energy. You may never see the tears that were dried, the courage that was found, the life that was saved because of your presence. But it is happening, and one day you will realize that the energy you carried changed more lives than you imagined. This is why the world needs queens to rise, not women who fight to be seen, not women who try to dominate, but women who heal, who lift, who transform. Women who know that the greatest strength is not in tearing down but in building up. Women who understand that to change the world, you don't always need a throne, you just need presence. And here is the call: do not underestimate your power. Do not think your compassion is small. Do not believe your kindness goes unnoticed. For every time you choose love over hate, you are shifting the atmosphere. Every time you choose patience over anger, you are transforming a moment. Every time you choose to lift instead of tear down, you are changing the world. That is the legacy of a queen. She leaves behind more than words, more than possessions. She leaves behind a trail of healed hearts, lifted spirits, and transformed lives. And that is why her energy is unlike anything else it heals, it lifts, it transforms. When a queen rises, she never rises alone. Her very act of stepping into her identity becomes a spark that ignites the lives of those around her. She may think she is just walking in her own truth, but what she is really doing is lifting others with her. Her courage gives courage, her dignity awakens dignity, her faith inspires faith. Her energy multiplies itself in the hearts of those who watch her stand tall. So many people live in shadows, uncertain of their worth, doubting their strength, waiting for someone to show them what it looks like to live with conviction. And when a queen walks into her role, she becomes that example. She does not need to shout instructions or demand others follow. Her life itself becomes the lesson. Children see it in her steadiness, friends see it in her loyalty, strangers see it in her kindness. Without realizing it, she becomes a mirror that shows others what they too can become. There is power in example. Words can inspire, but example transforms. People may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you lived. A queen knows this. She understands that her rise is not only for herself, it is for her family, her community, and the generation that comes after her. And so, when she chooses to rise, she carries countless others in her wake. Think of the way a sunrise works. The sun does not rise for itself alone. It rises, and in rising it brings light to the earth, warmth to the cold, clarity to the darkness. It shines without asking permission, and everything under its reach awakens. That is the picture of a queen's rise. She may feel like one person, but her energy is expansive. It spreads far beyond what she sees. It awakens people who had fallen asleep to their own potential. It calls them to stand taller, to dream bigger, to believe deeper. This is why a queen's rise is never selfish. It is never only about her crown or her throne. It is about the chain reaction that happens when she steps into her calling. You see, courage is contagious, faith is contagious, dignity is contagious. When one woman rises, suddenly another believes she can rise too. When one woman refuses to settle, suddenly others find strength to stop settling as well. When one woman chooses truth, she opens the door for others to walk in truth. And this is not just about the people closest to her. Sometimes the influence reaches further than she ever imagined. Someone may watch her from a distance, never say a word, but walk away forever changed by what they witnessed. Someone may hear a single sentence she speaks, and it becomes the spark that shifts their entire life. Someone may simply see the way she carries herself through adversity and find the strength to endure their own trial. She will never fully know how many lives her rising has touched, but that is the beauty of it. She does not need to know. A queen rises because it is who she is. She rises because her crown was meant to be worn, not hidden. She rises because the truth inside her cannot stay buried, and in doing so, her light spreads to places she will never step, to people she will never meet, to stories she will never hear. That is how far-reaching her energy is. This is why the enemy of her soul tries so hard to keep her down. Because when she is silent, others remain silent. When she is hidden, others remain hidden. But when she rises, she becomes a force of multiplication. She becomes a wave of transformation. Her single act of courage births courage in 1,000 others. That is why her rise matters not just for herself, but for the world. There are generations waiting for her to stand up. Children who will never know the fullness of their potential, unless she shows them how to carry themselves. Communities that will never see change unless she demonstrates what integrity looks like. Families that will never find healing unless she chooses forgiveness first. Nations that will never shift unless women rise into their true authority and dignity. Her rising is not just personal, it is generational. And hear this clearly, rising does not mean she never struggles. Rising does not mean she never doubts. Rising does not mean she never falls. It means that every time she stumbles, she gets up again. Every time fear whispers, she answers with faith. Every time pain tries to break her, she turns it into purpose. Rising is not about never being weak. It is about refusing to stay down. And that refusal becomes an inspiration to countless others who thought they couldn't get up either. So today, understand this truth. Your rising is not about you alone. Your rising is about the countless lives connected to yours. Your rising is about the sons and daughters who will walk in your footsteps. Your rising is about the friends who will gather strength from your endurance. Your rising is about the strangers who will find courage because they saw you live with courage. Do not stay small. Do not shrink back. Do not keep your crown hidden. Step into it, wear it, lave it, for when you rise, others rise. When you walk in light, others find the path. When you carry hope, others learn to hope again. And when you choose to live as the queen you were made to be, the ripple of your life stretches far beyond what you can see. And one day, when you look back, you will realize that your rising was never just about you. It was about everyone you carried with you. It was about the atmosphere you shifted, the lives you lifted, the hearts you healed, and the futures you transformed. That is why a queen's energy changes everything, because when she rises, the world cannot remain the same.